Today what we're going to do, we're going to cover the top 7 reasons why people are leaving Detroit, Michigan. And I tell you what, towards the end, we got some of my favorite reasons why people are leaving Detroit, Michigan, and it's might stir up a little controversy. So if you're in for that, make sure you stay till the end. So first up on that list is the taxes. People are leaving Detroit, Michigan because of the high taxes. I mean, let's be honest, there's high taxes all over Metro Detroit, especially in the cities and villages. You do get a little tax break in some of the different townships and stuff, but the city of Detroit, along with some other municipalities like Hazel Park, for instance, has some really, really high taxes. The city of Detroit does have what they call, kind of the NEZ tax break or tax incentive, however you want to call it. What I want to do here real quick, I'm going to kind of jump in and out of the computer. Hopefully that'll help you guys stay engaged and really kind of show you real true data as we talk about some of this information. So real quick, here's the NEZ homestead. In June 15, 1920 or 2021, I was going to say 1921, Detroit Council voted to accept the NEZ homestead. So this is basically in certain boundaries within Detroit that you get a tax break. I mean, typically that's about a 15 to 20% tax break, and this isn't for the lifetime of the home. It's for a certain period of time. You could certainly go to this website. I can link this down below so you have that information available. But basically, if you live in one of these areas, you'll get sent from the assessor, an application to apply for the NEZ homestead tax. And this is, NEZ stands for Neighborhood Enterprise Zones. So this is kind of their current zoning for that. I mean, this is kind of a blown up map. It's hard to really see. This kind of just shows you some of the zones that you can get that NEZ homestead break in. Another cool little website I like to jump in is the Michigan Property Tax Estimator. Here if I'm looking, let's see, Wayne County, we're going to go into Detroit and Detroit Public School District. We'll hit search, and you see here the homestead millage rate of 70, non-homestead millage rate of 87. So if you're a non-homestead, if you have an investment home, typically your taxes are going to be higher. And just for the sake of this conversation, we're not going to go really in depth. I do have a video up here that talks all about taxes. But just real quick, so, I mean, let's say, you have a home in Detroit, the SUV value might be fairly low. I mean, just because of the average home value is a little bit lower in Detroit, but we'll just put $50,000 for instance. So, I mean, just for that roughly $150,000 home, I mean, you're paying, $3,500 in taxes. We'll just say for Livingston County is fairly low. I mean, that's where I live currently. If we're going into, we'll just Howell Township, School District Howell, for that same SUV, which you don't find a lot of homes at that SUV, just for reference. But that same SUV, you're paying, $1,144. I mean, that's a considerable jump in taxes for that same, SUV, state equalized value of a home. So that's a real brief introduction on, or one of the reasons why people are leaving Detroit, Michigan, and that's for taxes. Next up on that list, number 2, is the flooding in Detroit. Now, we have an old infrastructure in the city of Detroit and many other larger, older metropolitan areas across the United States, but Detroit's, infrastructure is kind of, it's older, it's aging, and it's harder to sustain, some of the heavy rains that we've been getting in Metro Detroit. Here again, I'm going to jump into a website to kind of give you a little bit better idea of what I'm talking about. Now, here's a website from bridgemichigan.com showing understanding why Detroit floods and why it keeps happening. So if you look here, it was the second time the so-called 100-year rain event occurred in the past decade. Last time was August 2014. And since 2016, this has happened 4 times. I remember one of the most recent ones. I had a home under contract, or I had a seller that had a home down in Southgate, and they had that same water issues. And many homes across the whole Detroit area, Detroit metro area, had those issues with the water. I mean, a lot of it, the Southgate, it's kind of the downriver. You get a lot of those issues with the river as well. But the aging infrastructure is what has an issue with that. As you see here from Mr. Schuster, the infrastructure was built for a different time and place, and that's changed, and we're not able to keep up. So this kind of goes on, why Detroit tends to flood. You could certainly read all this information, but these are some of the issues that you're facing with the flooding. So that's certainly number 2 of why a lot of people are leaving Detroit, because they just can't handle the flooding. They want to go somewhere that doesn't have that issue. And again, this isn't just Detroit. This happens in a lot of different major metropolitan areas. So I'm not singling you out, Detroit. This is just one of the reasons why people are moving. They're thinking that, sometimes the grass is greener on the other side. They move somewhere else and they're still running into the flooding. That's why you have to reach out to the number 1 relocation team, in Detroit and Southeast Michigan. Again, all my information is down below. Travis Juntti with the Living in Southeast Michigan team. You can call me days, nights, weekends, whatever works best, calls, text, email, whatever it is. And make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit that little notification bell to make sure people get notified anytime we put out new content. Let's keep moving on. Number 3 reason why people are leaving Detroit is the jobs. I know I did a video a couple months back on why people are leaving Michigan. You can find that up here. People are complaining about the jobs. There's just not a lot of job opportunities. And if you're in the city of Detroit, that certainly is a lot less, right? I mean, you have Quicken Loans or Rocket Mortgage, whatever. You do have several other higher paying jobs, but there's a lot of different just service and city jobs that just aren't cutting it with some of the different expenses that we have, the taxes and so on and so forth that we have here. People are having a hard time with that. And even, there are some larger employers. Obviously, we're in the automotive industry. There's a lot of large employers, but there's a lot of competition for those jobs. So it can be a challenge in finding some of that occupation. So a lot of people are leaving to different areas that might have possibly better job environment. Again, I'm not, in the search for a job, so I'm not in the mix of that all the time. But it is something that I hear, quite a bit. I did hear some comments on my other video talking about, the lack of jobs and why they moved to different areas. And that being said, I'm curious, drop down in the comments below. I'm curious, why have you left Detroit, Michigan, or maybe why have you left, Southeast Michigan as a whole? I'm just super curious. I mean, like I said, a lot of these videos are spurred from you folks in the comments. So I'd like to hear that kind of stuff. Let me know if there's something that you would like me to cover, to talk about why you might be looking to live or move into Detroit or Southeast Michigan. Number 4 reason why people are leaving Detroit, Michigan is for the suburbs. A lot of people are moving from Detroit. They're relocating to the many different suburbs around Detroit, Michigan. This is very common in a lot of different metropolitan areas or different cities, around the country. They see the migration moving from the city, out to these different metropolitan areas. Typically a lot of these metropolitan areas, they offer a lot of things in ways of, different schooling systems, maybe some different tax breaks, as far as living out of a city kind of thing, different job opportunities, different way of life. Maybe it's better for families living there, whatever it might be. But a lot of people are moving to these suburbs, maybe because they also want that little bit slower pace of life. They don't want the hustle and bustle of the downtown Detroit. They don't want the cities or the skyscrapers in their backyard. So there's a lot of different reasons why people will move to suburbs. But Detroit has been seeing a lot of people, migrating from the city to Detroit into the suburbs. Even as Metro Detroit grows, they keep moving further and further out. Like, for example, my dad, he used to live in Detroit, kind of that Detroit and into the Redford area, and then continued to move out west. A lot of my family friends, they've moved out, further and further and further west as time progresses, and as you're just trying to get more property, more privacy, things like that. So like I said, if you're looking to move, outside of Detroit into any of these metropolitan areas, like I said, we are the #1 relocation team in Southeast Michigan. We help families every single day, moving to some of the different municipalities outside of Metro Detroit. Again, all my contact information is down below. Make sure you reach out, call, text, email, whatever is best for you. We're here to help you on that journey of moving to Detroit, Southeast Michigan. Number 5, which is the school system. Detroit is having a tough time with their school system. Like I said, at one point it used to be a very large area. It used to be a population of 1.5, 1.8. I don't remember the stats here right off the top of my head. But now we're sitting at right around 650,000. So that's a big change, and that's part of the reason why those taxes are so high, because there's a lot of infrastructure, a lot of buildings that we need, but there's not a lot of people that are paying taxes to cover those services. So that's why a lot of these public services, the fire, the police, the schools, stuff like that are, they seem to be suffering a little bit. And as far as the schools, right? I mean, Detroit it's certainly not at the top of the list. Please do your own due diligence on finding the school of your choice, right? We are Michigan, we are a school of choice. I've used sites like, niche.com or School Digger, whatever it might be, but make sure you do your due diligence on finding that school that's a good fit for you. Like I said, I work with a lot of families relocating to the area, and we've done our research on moving into the area. We moved to where we are primarily because of family, but also because of the schooling system. So if that's something that's of importance to you, make sure you look up. We do have some of the best schools in the nation here in Metro Detroit. So there's a lot of good options, whether it be public or private schools. We have excellent school systems, throughout the state of Michigan. So that's not, you can certainly find that if you're looking for top schools in Southeast Michigan and Michigan as a whole. Hey, stay with me all. We got 2 more left. We're getting to the exciting parts, and I can't wait to tell you what our 7th reason is of why people are leaving Detroit, Michigan. The number 6 reason why people are leaving Detroit is because of the high insurance rates. And what I want to do for this section, I want to jump into the computer and give you an idea of what people are saying, some of the media, what they're talking about the insurance rates. I know Michigan as a whole does have higher insurance rates, but that's even higher as you're in the city of Detroit, just based on different factors. And I'm not an insurance wizard, but I'll kind of let the articles do the speaking. So we'll take a deep dive into that. Here's metrotimes.com. Detroit still has the highest auto insurance rates in the nation, historic legislation in 2019. I'm not going to read all this, but nearly 5 years later, Michigan still has the highest auto insurance rates in the industry. And in Detroit, not only are the rates still higher than any other major city in the U.S., but they're also raising at an alarming pace. If you go down here, between 2023 and 2024, the average rates jumped 85% from $3,000 to $5,600. That's dreadful news for a city with nation's lowest average incomes. And it's not just the car insurance, it's also the home insurance. I think the home insurance is right up there at the top of top highest cities in the nation of finding home insurance. And a lot of that has to do with just the different risks that are involved in Michigan. I mean, there's a lot, or in Detroit, there's a lot of of abandoned areas and areas that might not be the best areas to live in. But like I said, do your own research on that stuff. It just comes with a higher risk, and that's one of those things where I tell people, if you're really considered on moving into a place, just like when you a lot of times when you're going to buy a car, do you go and get a quote on your car insurance? I mean, that's one thing you might want to look at. It's the same thing if you're looking to get a house. Maybe you kind of get an idea of what your mortgage might cost. It might not hurt to check what your home insurance might cost before you go down that road. Do you have a trusted advisor for insurance? Hey, look, if you need a trusted advisor, I know several trusted advisors in insurance that would be happy to provide you a quote, for your home and auto when kind of doing your research on moving into Detroit or Southeast Michigan. The 7th reason why people are leaving Detroit, Michigan is for political reasons. Look, it's no surprise. There's people on both sides of the fence, whether you're Republican or whether you're Democrat, whatever it is, there's a lot of people that are leaving Michigan for different states for several different reasons. One of them is political. A lot of people aren't a big fan of our governor of the great state of Michigan. Like I said, I don't care, which side of that area that you're leaning in. I'm just looking to help people, moving to Detroit, Michigan and Southeast Michigan as a whole. But one of the reasons why people are leaving Detroit and Southeast Michigan and Michigan as a whole is for political reasons, and they're not a big fan of our current governance. And for the sake of Michigan, whoever's in office, I do hope that things change in the future. That's the beauty of being able to vote. So hey, go out and vote 2024. I don't want to end this now. I'm going to throw in a little bonus for you. The 8th reason why people are leaving Detroit, Michigan, it's the crime in Detroit, Michigan. And look, I did another video on this, that's up here above. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail. Like I said, I'm not here to steer anybody into certain areas. I want you to do your own research yourself. You'll find out what that area is that's best for you. Like I said, I use the site, Neighborhood Scout a lot, so I can kind of get an idea, different areas that I might like. You can plug in your city, you can plug in your area, and you can kind of look at the crime data and figure out, is this a place that I am comfortable with? And I always tell people that are relocating their area, let's jump into a self-guided tour. We'll kind of show you some areas to check out in those different areas, so you can have an idea of what that place is that you're moving to. I never recommend somebody to just move here on just blindly and just hope that they like the place. Look, this is a big decision, and that's why we're here to help you. We're the #1 relocation team in Southeast Michigan and Detroit, Michigan. So all my contact information is down below. Call, text, email, whatever it is that's best for you. We're happy to help you on that journey. I do hope you found some value out of this video. Please make sure to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and make sure you hit that little notification bell to make sure you get notified anytime we put out new content. Until next time, again, this is Travis Juntti on the Living in Detroit, Southeast Michigan team. We'll see you on the next video.